absolutely delicious.
Get Maggie double cubes today. Me and Maggie, so good together.
Psalms 82 verse 5 says, "They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. But there's hope." Join Pastor Architect Alex Adigwe, Word Alive Ministries International, known as the Stone Church, every Sunday at 8:45 p.m. on 32 FM 94.9. He'll share the word of hope, the word of life, and the word that heals. Remember, the word works when it is worked. Tune in and let the transformative power of God's word impact your life.
kò bá jẹ́ 24 29 tàbí 32 ṣáà ti fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wa lórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ kàn tẹ 32 FM 949 ẹ̀yẹ̀ fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀.
Ibadan, are you ready? Something big is about to shake the Asian city like never before. The biggest concert of the year is here. It's the one, the only Davido 5 concert in Ibadan.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Davido. On November 9th, I will be hitting the mega city live from the Liberty Stadium. My Ibadan people, let's pack it out.
You heard it straight from OBO himself. It's going down at Liberty Stadium on November 9 at 3 p.m. Get ready to sing your heart out, dance non-stop, and experience the magic with Davido performing all your favorite hits live on stage. Tickets: early bird 5k, general admission 10k, superfan meet and greet 1 million, VIP OBO early bird 3 million, VIP table OBO premium 5 million naira. For further details, call 0803-324-2489. This event is supported by the Oyo State Government through the Agency for Youth Development. The Davido 5 concert in Ibadan. Don't just hear about it, be there.
Dèlò èdè fèdè yangan àtàwọn àkànlò èdè ayàwòrán tó perégedé fìrómọ̀rí sí fènìyàn pọ̀hùn àtàwọn ìṣàmúlò ẹwà èdè Yorùbá tó jíire lẹ́yìn máa pápádé lórí ètò Yorùbá Dùn ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ajé láago 7 àṣálẹ́ ṣaago 8 kọjá 20 ìṣẹ́jú pẹ̀lú ìtúpalẹ̀ àwọn lítírésì eré oníṣe tó kún fọgbọ́n ìmọ̀ òye àṣà ìrírí lọ́pọ̀ yanturu tá a fi gbélé ayé tó kọ́mọ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìkànnì 32 FM 94.9 lẹ́wọ̀sì máa gbọ́ ètò Yorùbá Dùn pẹ̀lú Olúbímpé Fátóyè àtọ́kùn ètò a kì í fowó ròyìn kó má lè kọ́ni lójú Olúgbénga Ìdòwú ó yá gbé sókè. ọjọ́ 17 tí wọ́n ṣe ìgbéyàwó ni olóyè pé ilé ọmọ Dèbó jáde ó sì gé ó fi aṣọ funfun wé. boko jìnnà ìlà kì í kó ìpàdé tó dọjú ajé ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí nìkànnì 32 FM 94.9 Yorùbá Dùn Yorùbá rẹwà Yorùbá wò mí jọjọ.
MD Global Communication ṣòdàmọ̀ tó bá rí o tún ti gbòòrè gẹ̀jígẹ̀ yàtọ̀ sí tàtẹ̀yìn wa. ilé ìtajà fóònù àtàwọn èlò ilé tó gbajúmọ̀ jùlọ ní sànmọ́nì tá a wà yìí. bí wọ́n ṣe tàwọn fóònù bíi Samsung, iPhone, Infinix, Tecno, Oppo, Redmi, INT'L, laptop tuntun àti UK use pẹ̀lú àwọn fóònù accessories tẹ́ bá fẹ́. ni wọ́n tún ta home appliances àti gbogbo electronics pátápátá. ra electronics kan kó gbẹ̀bú fóònù sí lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́. easy buy àǹfààní san díẹ̀díẹ̀ lọ́nà rọrùn wà lórí èyíkéyìí ẹ̀rọ ìpè àbáwọn èlò ilé tẹ́ bá rà lọ́dọ̀ wọn. MD Global Communication ẹ ti bá wọn dòwò pọ̀ ọjọ́ pẹ́ ní báyìí iṣẹ́ tó ti yàtọ̀. gbogbo tó fẹ́ lójú kan ló wà lówó tí kò nira. MD Global Communication wà ní AA Shopping Complex ìyànà jọ Ìwó Road Ìbàdàn àti ní number 1 Ọlọ́runṣògo Àkàrà Road lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ Oyinkanṣọ́lá Fuel Station. o lè pè wọ́n sórí 08060688848. MD Global Communication ojúlówó ọjà tó rọjú gbà ni wọ́n ń tà lọ́dọ̀ tiwọn.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Welcome back to the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. Our guest is Inibe Effiong, is a legal practitioner and human rights activist. Inibe, thank you for staying with us. Before we went on that break, you were talking about the political side of it, a possibility of a solution outside the court.
So I envisage that eventually the Nnamdi Kanu situation, if I can use that expression, they have to be resolved politically. Because the reality is that many of our compatriots from in the southeastern part of the country, they feel a deep sense of marginalization. Even in the manner that Kanu himself has been treated. You cannot entirely dismiss the allegations of ethnic bias. For a government that has a ruling party that has romance with terrorists, a ruling party that claims to be pursuing amnesty and reintegration for Boko Haram members, for so-called bandits who are kidnapping and slaughtering people across the north and other parts of the country. I don't think that is a government that has any standing to lecture us about the actions of Nnamdi Kanu. So I believe eventually that the way out of this might just have to be political
solution.
Resolution.
Right.
This matter is not to be resolved through the courts because the reality is that putting him on trial now, I mean, how has that impacted on the insecurity in the southeast? Okay, and the manner in which he was kidnapped through extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria, the manner in which his house, his father's home, was invaded by Nigerian soldiers where they kill people. You are not going to say you want to bring Nnamdi Kanu to justice through an unjust process. It is either we are a country governed by the rule of law, or we just go back to the state of nature.
Right.
But to simply pretend that, we have a government that is trying to uphold the law, it's just hypocrisy to me.
Right. Okay, let's go to our panelists now. Let me start off with your learned friend, Barrister Omogonola. Barrister, you have the floor.
Yes. Thank you very much, Toba. And Effiong, it's so good to have you with us this morning. And of course, my noble professor. Well, I have two questions on the two issues you have addressed this morning. Number one, law is made for man and not the other way around. There is no doubt the president made a mistake and has corrected same. One can only hope he learns from this avoidable error. In other words, that the president should stop surrounding himself with psychophants. Now, before the president made his proclamation, the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy had sat on that list. And then the president went to the Council of States and they purportedly sat on it and most probably gave their consent. The question now is, were they all sleeping the whole time to notice the absurdity, or were they all sitting on his mandate? Should heads not roll? I mean, of those people, including the Council of State, that brought the president to ridicule. That's number one. Then number two, I have observed Mazi Nnamdi Kanu since his treasonable felony trial commenced. From his demeanor and utterances, I strongly believe that he is a mentally unstable person and may therefore not be fit to stand trial. No one is compelled to stand trial if his mental state will prevent him from understanding the proceedings and or effectively participating in his own defense. Now the question is, can the court suo motu raise this issue as things are?
Right. Inibe.
Thank you, sir, for your questions. What specific issue are you envisaging here, please?
On which one?
No, the issue the question of whether the court can raise an issue sumo motu. What issue, please?
Yes, I said the court has the duty of ensuring a fair trial for the accused. And that part of that duty, as in this case, is to first determine the mental state of the accused by subjecting him to a medical assessment. And if found to be so mentally unstable, to put his trial on hold.
Well, that's a good question. But even the question of even his mental well-being, how about his physical well-being? When there were reports, of course, position taken by his lawyer that he was not fit to stand trial.
I think that was with respect to his physical, his physical health.
Yes.
Now I am talking about his mental health.
The court can raise that issue sumo motu, where there are prevailing facts pointing to either mental incapacitation or instability or lack of appreciation of the trial. Because for a defendant to stand trial, not only should the defendant be physically fit, the defendant must also be seen to be mentally aware. The defendant must be shown to have the understanding of the nature of the trial, the nature of the proceedings. Otherwise, there is clearly no fair trial. So, I do not think we are going to get to that point where this issue is going to be raised. My assessment is that the trial judge is determined to conclude this matter one way or the other.
And then I think there's a second part of the question, Inibe, about the presidential.
Pardon, yes. No, it was not a mistake. While we may want to give the president the benefit of doubt, I do not know why we had a lot of people associated with drugs on that list. To simply dismiss this as a mistake of the aides or appointees of the president might just be overstretching the points. The buck still stops on the desk of the president, because the Constitution does not say that it is the advisors of the president who should exercise that power. It is the president. What that means is that if you are serious as commander-in-chief, before you approve of such before you can basically determine who you should exercise that discretion in favor, you should have had time with your advisors, with the committee, sit down and go through this one by one. Oh, who is number one? What is the offense? Who is number two? What is the offense? So what this speaks to
is that not the role that the Council of State was expected to have played?
No, not the Council of State. The role of the Council of State is just the president is mandated to consult. When the law says consult, it is basically like saying inform or seek advice. But there is actually a technical committee called the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, headed by the Attorney General of the Federation. Assuming we are giving the president the benefit of doubt, can we also extend it to the Attorney General? The answer is no. He had a responsibility. So Lateef Fagbemi SN fell in this regard, and he should apologize to Nigerians for the embarrassment that this whole episode has brought on the country.
Right.
Yes, but sorry. Then what is the relevance of taking advice from the Council of State?
Well, it's not binding.
I know it is not binding. But we are entitled to know the advice they gave. Because if that list went through them and they approved it as an advice, then there is a big problem.
As a matter of fact, in an interview I granted a national TV station 2 days ago, I did even raise the question whether the Council of State was actually consulted. At the initial stage, we were told that the issue was raised at the last Council of State meeting, but when they now reviewed the list and came back with 86 names, they claim in their statement that the president consulted, but to our knowledge, no meeting of the Council of State took place. So is it that he consulted them individually, members of the council individually, or they had a virtual meeting. There is no statement that the Council of State met, either physically or virtually. So where and when did the president come to the Council of State? I believe what has happened is a travesty, but hopefully this will also be a teachable moment for those in the villa who seems determined to close their eyes and their ears to the yearnings and aspirations of the Nigerian people.
Right. Okay, let's go to Prof now. Prof? Hello, Prof. Yes.
Thank you. I've patiently looked at what is going on with this Kano case and seen what the debates have been around this prerogative of mercy. People have talked about how bandits have been treated, how Boko Haram convicts have been treated, and I've compared it to the way Kano has been treated. I don't know, and I think a barrister can help us clarify this, whether these comparisons are appropriate, given the status of the offenses or the allegations in law. Then secondly, given his preference for a political solution, I'm just wondering whether keeping him permanently is not even considered a political move that gives some kind of solution, probably sending strong signal to future separatists that it will not be tolerated. What is his opinion?
Right. Anybody?
Well, I don't agree that the government does not tolerate separatists. Why is Igboho not on trial? Do you have an answer? Why is Igboho not standing trial? Right? Despite his armed confrontation with the SSS when they invaded his residence, even though the court later awarded judgment in his favor. So I don't agree. And look, the Constitution of Nigeria.
Sorry, Effiong, there is something I must correct. Even though I know that there is a division among the Oodua Republic, I am currently involved in a case involving the agitators of Yoruba Nation or Oodua Republic. The case is presently in court and yet to be determined, although it does not appear to be the faction of Sunday Igboho. What's the woman's name?
Okay, are you talking about the ones the wife of that invaded the House of Assembly?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
their case is still in court.
Onitiri Abiola.
Onitiri, yes.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I'm just putting on record that agitation, that self-determination is a right that is guaranteed under our law. Asking that Nigeria should be divided is not a crime. There is no court in Nigeria that will convict somebody for simply saying, I no longer believe in the unity of Nigeria. The man that is sitting as the president of Nigeria today, on record, had publicly called for the dissolution of the country. He had at some point expressed his loss of faith in Nigeria. What we see is that people only become patriotic or claim to be patriotic once they have access to power. Buhari, who was president of this country, made nonsense of this country for 8 years. Go and look at the statements he made in the past. So I am saying that in the context of the Kano thing, the aspect of the agitation that they are claiming, he incited violence and so on, of course the law can address that. But to simply say that fighting for self-determination or asking that the country should be divided, that is not a crime, and nobody should be prosecuted for that. And the truth is that in the final analysis, Nigeria has to make a decision whether to remain as one country or to allow those who want to live. You cannot say you don't want Biafra, you don't want Oduduwa, and you are not willing to allow the country to run on the rule of law, on the basis of equality. We are seeing chronic nepotism. You get into government, You surround yourself with your kingsmen. You begin to discriminate. This has been going on. Under Jonathan, the issue was that, oh, you were favoring people from the Niger Delta. Buhari came in. They say, oh, the core Muslim North, it was their turn. We even have a president now who even wrote to power on a Miloko and said, it is my turn. And now he's also being accused of favoring a section of the country. So I am making the case that while some of us do not support splitting Nigeria, and if we were to have a referendum today, I'm not going to vote to divide Nigeria because I don't see a solution. I don't see that as the solution to our problems. If you split Nigeria now into different regions, who are the people that will govern those regions? Is it not the same set of people that are destroying the country now? Right. So that's for me. I don't believe that Nigeria should be splitted. But those who are making that case, they should be listened to. It's not for us to dismiss them, while at the same time we see the government engaging with non-state actors that are killing people. There has to be justice across board. We must see clearly that the government is fair to every part of the country without any form of ethnic bias. I think to a large extent, we must admit that the whole Nnamdi Kanu phenomenon is a product of failure of leadership, both leadership of the southeastern politicians and leadership of the country as a whole.
Right. I think that there's also a question that Prof asked about whether it's a fair comparison to talk about bandits in the north, how some state governors have reconciled with them and all of that, and to compare that with the situation of Nnamdi Kanu, like in the position of the law, are they the same? Terrorism, treason? Yes.
All that Nnamdi Kanu, which treason? All that he has been accused of, I think they dropped the treason charges. They're now basically trying it for terrorism.
Yeah.
All that they're accusing him of is that he made the inciting broadcast. They did not find even a locally made pistol in his possession. Nobody has accused Kanu of killing anybody. On the contrary, they are claiming that he incited others to do it.
Yeah.
So on the basis of crime, if you want to even make comparison, right? I'm not downplaying the gravity of the insecurity in the southeast.
Yes.
I'm just putting it on record that as far as the charges are concerned, Kanu is not being tried for murder, for killing a single person. All that they're accusing him of is that he established Radio Biafra and was making broadcasts on social media inciting people. That is what they are talking about. But are you saying you have not seen videos of Nigerian armed forces, Nigerian security forces, Nigerian government officials sitting with armed terrorists in the north and negotiating with them? Are you not seeing what some of these governors are doing? Are you not seeing what the federal government has been doing? The pretense, the hypocrisy? I will never agree to live in a country that is ruled by hypocrisy and deceit. So you cannot say that Kanu is a problem. Kanu has committed this crime because he incited people. But at the same time, we are seeing that the same government is basically accommodating those who are actively and openly declaring that they are out to kill.
Right. Okay. So
and let me also quickly say that this whole Biafra Kanu thing, if we want to be sincere, when it started, it was very peaceful. He was initially just talking, and then he started going from community. If you would remember, he was doing rallies from one state to the other, and then the Nigerian government decided to move in to attack him, and they started killing them. That is the truth of the matter. That is the truth. The Nigerian armed forces killed people that were peacefully fighting for the agitation of the Biafra, and those killings have not been addressed till date. So why are we all pretending? If it is terrorism, the Nigerian government has also committed terrorism against the people of the southeastern region. Why has the killings by the soldiers and the police not been addressed? Go and check how Kanu started the whole agitation. He was in Nigeria. He was going today. He will go to Abia. Tomorrow he will go to Enugu. And when the governors, the so-called leaders of the region and the federal government saw that he was becoming too influential, they decided to use violence against him. Was that not what happened? Are we saying that the so-called that the armed agitation, the name I'm looking for, that the armed agitation that we are seeing in the southeast, that it has been like that from the beginning? Even Boko Haram is also failure of leadership. Mohammed Yusuf was going about preaching, inciting people It was until he was killed that his followers took up arms. Has the Nigerian government learned anything? No. Nigeria's only response to violence. Those of us that protest peacefully, are you not seeing what they do to Showore? Are you not seeing? Does the government respect Showore's right to protest peacefully? If he goes into armed struggle tomorrow, that is when they want to sit down with him. So we have a country where only those that take up arms to kill and destroy are respected or are given attention. That is what we are living with.
Right. Okay. Inibe, I like to also get your thoughts on the a declaration by Donald Trump yesterday designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern based on the allegation, according to them, of a Christian genocide in the country. Something that came up. I think it was Senator Ted Cruz that raised the issue. There have been different reaction to it. There are those who say, we are just being labeled because at the end of the day, there is insecurity in Nigeria, and all people of all faith are being targeted, and there is no Christian genocide whatsoever. So, looking at it, what should be the response of the Nigerian government to this, given the Nigeria-US relationship and how Trump, can be in terms of how he relates with countries, in internationally, sanctions, tariff, and all of that?
Well, this is a very controversial topic, really, because a lot of so much emotion is involved.
Yeah.
And some of us who are involved in human rights work, we try as much as possible to stay away from, these ethnic and religious issues that seems to polarize. At the same time, we have to face the facts. Nobody can deny that, especially in the North Central region, I would never agree to make a concession that the killings in the North Central is not organized. That these are just coincidences. Look at what has been going on in Benue. Look at what has been going on in Plateau. Can you tell me that the situation in those two states in particular, that they are just coincidences, they are just mere crime? These are systemic acts of killing that are going on. So I'm not going to sit here and begin to engage in semantical argument whether what is going on is a genocide or not. If there is Muslims are also killed, which is correct, so if there is Muslim genocide or genocide or killings of Muslims, does that excuse the killing of Christians? Can you count the number of churches that have been burned since the APC came to power, and even before now, in the north? Look at even the southwestern region. Have you forgotten the killings in Owo? Even though some of the suspects are now standing trial, where people invaded a church, slaughtered worshippers. I mean, some things happen in this country and people just pretend. Are you not seeing the mass burials that have been going on? So you cannot pretend that there is no religious tone, there is no religious agenda to this thing. There is. The truth is that the government, the politicians are profiting from it. The politicians are hypocritical about it. They're shying away from it for their own, pattern and political gain. So the designation by Trump, America is not our savior, I concede. I do not believe that the West is going to solve our problems. I do not believe that the West necessarily means well for us. But look, I'm not going to blame America for anything when it is our own government that is keeping us where we are. People say, oh, they are coming to steal our resources. And I've asked on social media this morning, those who have been ruining our country since 1960, what have they been doing? Is it not stealing our money, acquiring properties abroad? Is that not what our politicians are doing? So whatever you want to accuse America of, our politicians are doing it in multiple folds. It might be hypocritical, yes, but I have not seen that it has gotten the attention. If it is not for any other thing, the fact that we are having this conversation today is thanks to America, because our government only listens to foreigners, unfortunately. Under Buhari, it was when he used to go abroad that he would make serious statements. Buhari didn't even like talking to the Nigerian media. Right? You have a president today that goes to France at every interval for his treatment, and he doesn't even have the decency to make disclosure to Nigerians. So you are saying that the West is evil, the West is coming to steal African resources. Oh, we are Pan-African. What is Pan-Africanism when our so-called rulers in Africa, they cannot even treat themselves in Africa? Buhari spent 8 years will not be in a single hospital to treat himself. Tinubu is going to his third year in office. He has not been able to put in place a single medical facility that is good enough to treat the president. And you are coming to tell me that America is bad. You are collecting loans from them, and you don't want them to prognose into your affairs. You are buying properties in America. You are buying properties. Look, the problem of Nigeria is a Nigerian politician. It is not. The West is part of it, but the reason why I'm always reluctant to put the blame on the West is because the West is not at one point.
So
right? It's not as if Trump is not going to deploy the U.S. Marine to come to the villa to fight our president. Let Tinubu address the issue squarely, and they should stop playing politics with it.
All right. Let me just read a section of the press release response of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They say, we remain committed in our resolve to tackle the violent extremism that is fueled by special interests who have helped drive such decay and division in countries around the intersecting West African and Sahel region. They say we will mourn all the victims and we salute our armed forces as they continue to fight against vicious but cowardly foes. They say the country remains committed to maintain its diversity in terms of religion, faith, and inclusion. That's the response from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it appears to sort of debunk the narrative that only Christians are being targeted. It also lays emphasis on the neighboring countries, especially in the Sahel region. What do you make? Yes.
That is an empty.
Yes.
What are felt empty and meaningless? Are you saying the Nigerian armed forces lack the capacity to stop the killings? I would never agree with you. How many are these people, by the way? How many are there? If the government stop shielding them, the killings will stop. I will never concede that our armed forces is overwhelmed or has been outnumbered, outgunned, and overpowered. That is not correct. The government is complicit in these killings. The day the government wants to put an end to it, is going to stop. That is my position.
Right.
And I will defend it anyway.
Right. Okay, let's go to Barrister again because I understand that Inibe has other engagements, so we have to let him go in a couple of minutes. So Barrister, your final round of questions for Inibe, and then we'll go to Prof as well. Hello, Barrister. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Extremism, you just read from that report. Is it religious or political extremism? I have been asking some questions, and I sincerely hope that the Nigerian authorities would concede answers too. Now, what is the religious leaning of Boko Haram? Who are their targets? What is the religious leaning of the bandits? Who are their targets? The religious leaning of the kidnappers? Who are their targets? I'm sure if we are able to answer those questions, we will know whether or not Nigeria qualifies to be on that list of countries of particular concern. That is just intended as a comment.
Okay.
Now, Effiong, I have been closely monitoring developments in Madagascar and more recently, Tanzania and Cameroon. My friend calls it Cameroon. So the question is, are African rulers, by their irresponsibility and inefficiency, not precipitating a return to militarism?
Anyway. Hello.
Well,
yeah.
I'm here. I was listening to the comments and questions. Please, do you mind refreshing?
No, I think it made reference to the events in Madagascar, Cameroon, and Tanzania saying that African leaders not acting in ways such that maybe they are relishing the possible return to military rule.
Well, it is African rulers that are instigating the military interventions across Africa because they are just simply irresponsible. I mean, look at this woman in Tanzania. Look at the mess that she has made of the country. She has jailed all her opponents, basically running a rogue election unopposed, shut down internet, no dissent, no free speech. Look at how she came to power. It was people were thought, oh, this one was going to bring hope, but now she wants to sit tight. Look at the situation in Kenya too, even across West Africa. We are seeing the same thing, that those we call leaders in Africa are simply out to destroy and decimate their people. Look at the old man in Cameroon, Paul Biya, and at almost 92, he still wants to cling to power. A man that doesn't even know morning from day. A man that may not even be aware that he's seeking re-election, but he's still parading himself as a presidential candidate. And you look at it from one country to the other in Africa. We have a cycle of unrepentant political bandits who are simply out to ruin Africa. So Africans must really do something about this. And what we are seeing in countries like Madagascar, there is now another round of consciousness in Africa to demand change. You cannot simply keep people subjugated and then expect that situation will remain forever. And that is why politicians in Nigeria should be very careful. They should be extremely careful. That is all I have to say.
Okay, let's go to Prof. Final comment and questions before we let Inibehe go. Prof?
Yes, I thank him for being with us this morning. What does he think is the answer to this increasing authoritarianism that we are experiencing even in Nigeria? Because he made reference specifically to the right to protest, to demonstrate, and the action of the government in trying to forcefully prevent or stop public protest, which is a legitimate right of citizens in a democracy.
I believe the solution is for a stronger media, a stronger civil society, and an active citizenry. Activists are not going to save our country. Nigerians must demand accountability. Nigerians must begin to hold power accountable. This idea of collecting packs, sharing bread, giving people 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 to vote every 4 years, and they just pretend that, the terms are over. It has to stop. There has to be serious electoral reforms. And then at the end of the day, somehow the people also get the kind of government they deserve, because Nigerians are not entirely innocent of what is going on. Nigerians are not entirely innocent. People are still talking about tribalism. People are still talking about religion. They are still allowing politicians to use these emotional things to divide us while they are frittering away our resources. So what we need is collective action, is an enlightened citizenry, people who are determined to checkmate the excesses of those in power. And then we need strong independent institutions, starting from the judiciary. The judiciary in Nigeria and across Africa must become responsible. I mean, or should I say more responsible? Look at the certification, of the sham elections we are seeing in Africa. It is really a shame what is going on. It is a very, very big shame. Look at Paul Biya. Look at even the man in Uganda that pretends to be president, Museveni. I mean, almost every adult in that country has only known Museveni as president. And now he's prepping his son to take over from him. We cannot continue like this as a continent, to continue to feed it Western perception that something is wrong with the black race. Thank you for
Thank you so much.
me.
Thank you so much, Inibe. It's been a very
don't
wonderful
go
conversation
yet.
with you. Okay, Barrister.
Effiong,
Yes, sir.
Make you laugh small now.
Okay.
I think you know one laugh.
We are here, sir.
It is our own tradition to ensure that our guest laughs as a therapy for the times before you go. So I want to make you laugh. I am happy you're already laughing. How are you preparing for this new increment on PMS or petrol with this 15% duty that is to be imposed by the government? I beg, teach us how you want to get over this.
You know, if Tinubu were a Christian, I would have said if we look at his lineage, even a subject of controversy, it may probably be related to tax collector in the because it's traceable to secure because the current president has expertise in taxing people to death, and I just hope that it will be more, humanitarian in imposing taxes and increasing prices of things because
but he has put Zacchaeus in charge of FIRS now.
So the way it is going, we may get to a point that before you are allowed to move from Ogun State to Ekiti, you are going to pay tax. We may have tax for moving interstate. We may have tax for even breeding. The government is just obsessed with collecting, and they're not even justifying the taxes that they are collecting.
Right. Thank you so much, Inibe, for joining us. Inibe is a legal practitioner and human rights activist. Thank you for joining us on the podium. You can exit the call now, Inibe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll be switching from Inibe now to join our other guests on the conversation. He's already live with us. Is Mr. 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐈𝐒. He's a public servant and an author. He also served as an SSA to former President Muhammadu Buhari on job creation. He was part of the team that designed Empower and other social investment program during that administration. Thank you so much, Mr. Falabi, for joining us. So it's such a pleasure to have you live with us on 32 FM. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So it's a panel. Yeah, thank you, sir. It's a panel discussion. So we have two panelists on the call with us here. So they will be making comments and also asking you questions as the conversation progresses. We have Professor Remi Ayede, Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan, and Barrister Remi Ogunla, the two panelists here with us today. Right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, so, let me just start by asking you, because, you've worked in public service, you've done a lot of work regarding unemployment and all of that. So the unemployment rate is still a major concern for many years. So from your experience, as a public servant, what do you think are the structural drivers behind this persistent crisis? Some say it's unemployability, the skill gap, So talk to us. From what have you seen as the major drivers of this problem?
So good morning, and thank you, Prof. and Barrister. I don't know why you bring me to a panel that has a professor. What am I supposed to say? I'm supposed to learn. I'm sure you know that I tell all of you night school more law. So, Prof, let me apologize in advance. I may not know any statistics. I may only know, I may only know my local intelligence, but you are the one to educate us. So thank you. Well, so as you mentioned, and you're right, everything you said about the cause of unemployment or the structural issues of employment are all part of it. But I also like the fact that you use the word structural. Maybe Prof has already started educating you. The unemployment issue we have in Nigeria, it is structural thing. So let me also start by also saying first and foremost that it's not, when you talk about unemployment or when you talk about, jobs for young people especially, it's not only limited to Nigeria. It's a global thing, and you'd almost, if you watch any campaign across the world right now for any political office, you will see job creation, youth employment as a critical conversation. What are the things they look out for in the US? It's always about job numbers, whether losing or gaining. So just to set that context, we don't always think that is a Nigerian problem only. However, what makes us perhaps more alarming is the fact that we're a very young population. We're a youthful country. Again, I've already done a disclaimer, but when you are with professors, I don't like to put out statistics, but we know that at least we are over our population, 65% of our population is under 32. Some say under 25, I don't know, but we're certainly very young, a young population. So that begins to put pressure on the fact that your young people are not being engaged in the labor market. So that's one. The second thing again is that our population is growing exponentially in multiple X. In fact, I'm sure scholars will call it geometric progression, versus our economic growth. So that again is a structural problem. So what it means, therefore, is that the rate at which we give birth in our country, we're a very fruitful and fertile country. So the rate at which we give birth, and over time, they go through the school system, and they are out in the labor market. Our economy is not growing at that rate. So you have this flux, right? The third is, which also makes it somewhat structural as well, but perhaps that's the one that we can correct relatively faster than the other, is the skills gap or the skills match that you talked about. So because what you find, and this was quite instructive for me before going into government to serve, in fact, it was what formed the fulcrum of my TVET work from 2010, actively from 2010 to 2014, even 2015 before being invited to the government to serve. And that's the fact that you see that in a country that is struggling to keep his people empowered or keep his people in the labor market employed, that same country has alarming rates of expatriate quota, not because of anything, but simply because we cannot find the skills. So that begins to tell, and that's why I said that this particular area of the skills match we're talking about, or mismatch, is perhaps the area we need to quickly correct. And the way you will know if you're doing it right is you should see your expatriate quota reducing, at least the genuine ones, not the padded ones or the other ones. But, so that's really what it is, and that's the reason for a lot of what drove a lot of our systemic corrections at that time. Let me pause there.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Falabi, thank you for creating that background. And the reason, for bringing you onto this conversation is because of your experience, someone who has, been part of a government team that shaped policies targeted at addressing unemployment as a problem in the country. And one of the policies that that your team drove was the Empower program. School feeding and all of that. So let's start with the Empower program, for instance. It was domiciled in the office of the vice president at the time. You tackle unemployment crisis in the country. Can you give us a picture of your methodology and the employment impact of the program, at the time it was conceptualized? And I know there's another phase of the program. There's another program now, that's the Nigeria Jubilee Fellows program. We'll get to that in a bit, but I just want to create a background to all of this as someone who has, worked with government in terms of designing policies targeted at tackling the job crisis in the country.
Cool, thank you. So, excellent question, and certainly just rides off on what the foundation already laid. And so that's actually the reason why Empower exists. I don't want to say existed because it's still a program. Well, that's the reason why Empower exists, and perhaps other suitable and credible employability platforms or pathways. So, as I said, when you begin to try to dissect our unemployment issues and then want to focus on the one that speaks directly to what's it called that speaks directly to skills mismatch and employability issues. What you're trying to really do is to create what I like to call a finishing school for skills in multi ways. So for them, for Empower, it was like one. So we like to describe Empower as the learn, work, and entrepreneurship pathway, right? So you were able to gain experience because the crucible you then also find there. Normally, you also find is a lot of our young people talk about the fact that post NYC people still ask them for relevant work experience, and they don't even agree that most employers perhaps don't see their NYC 1 year mandatory service post school as sufficient or as quote unquote credible enough. And so platforms or employability platforms like the Empower and all that is to give you additional opportunity to learn while you work. And that learning at that time is no longer school learning, it's really on the job learning. It's that's why I say it's a polishing, it's a finishing school, a polishing school kind of thing. So with the Empower program, how did they learn? A lot of them, they all learned through their, what's it called, right? They learned digitally because they were also all digital nomads, every one of them for the first batch. They all had tablets. I think the second batch, everyone learned through their portal. Everybody had the portal, access to the portal, the learning portal where all the learning materials were there. But the first batch was privileged to all. They had an asset finance program that the government backed, and they all got devices at the time. So they learn, and then the application of that learning is what they then apply in their various fields. So because at that time they were either teaching assistants in our public schools or health assistants in our primary health centers or agri extension workers in the farms. So again, what did we do? We looked at areas of the public service or the public areas, social areas that needed human capital. And yes, we're lacking in them. And even those who were available were not skilled enough to fill those roles. So it was not just a case of dashing money or paying somebody. They were paying them to do work, but they were learning to do the work and to fill specific roles for the society. So it was a double arrow kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, so sorry to come in. I just want to also add that, one of the things that we hear when government policies are rolled out to tackle poverty or unemployment, sometimes people see it as a cosmetic approach. They say it doesn't address the root cause of the problem. In fact, some even see it as a political tool as well by the government of the day. I'm sure you've heard some of the reactions to the various social investment programs that were designed, under the Buhari government by your team. Talk about school feeding program, conditional cash transfer, and all of that. So is it public trust deficit, or that these policies are not actually well thought out to thoroughly address the root cause of the problem? Because it generated a lot of controversy. People were saying, why dole out cash, for instance, the conditional cash transfer program? Why give food to children in schools? People could not understand when you can pump the money into fixing the dilapidated structure in those schools, employ more teachers and all of that. So I'd like you to speak to that really. Is it just public trust deficit, or are these programs not are they just cosmetic approach towards solving the problem?
So I don't agree that, if it's a cosmetic approach, I won't be explaining the root cause. I won't be connecting the root cause and how what we designed is targeted at the root cause. We've all agreed what the root cause is. The honest truth about, and Professor is here, and I'll be looking forward to hearing his point. The reality is, and as I often say, where you need to correct is actually in the school system. The reforms in our school system, from the curriculum, the training pedagogy, how we deliver learning, how, in fact, our instructors are trained. It would surprise you to know that even in the TVET that I was reforming, it's one thing to have the equipment, it's one thing to have the tools, it's one thing to have the willing learners, but where are the instructors? Where are the TVET instructors? The last time the government system, through the training for technical instructors, happened in my time when I was actively, like I said, 10 years ago now. The last time training happened for technical instructors 10 years ago was over 10, 15 years ago to that time. And so you found that even in designing our program, we had to create what we call a master's trainer program. We had to sit with the various councils, whether it's the Council of Builders for construction industry, whether it's the Council of Automotive Design for the automobile industry, or the council, or the two councils that drive the hospitality industry, to design industry-based curriculum. And then the occupational standards and what have you, and then design the training manual that was in alignment to the curriculum. And we had to then do master trainers, a train the trainer for the trainers. So my point is that the root causes are known. And when you then want to even address the root causes in the educational system, one of the things I said in the meeting 2 weeks ago where we met,
yes,
I mentioned to you that when you intervene in education, before you begin to get the return on that investment in education, it's minimum 5 to 10 years. So meanwhile, you already have people who are in the labor market already, who have graduated, who have left school, who are in the labor market already, who are having these day-to-day challenges that you and I are talking about. So it's not what you're going to intervene in education that's going to solve their problem. They've already gone through the quote-unquote faulty system. So, and the system is not so much that our professors don't know what they are doing. No, we're talking about aligning industry to the learning, align the town meeting the gown. Where those who come, and we're not saying they are illiterate. No, they are literate. They've gone through school. School has gone through them. But the employer is saying, no, I have to literally spend so much again to retool you, to retrain you, before you can be useful to me. For the sake of the audience, it's like saying that somebody went through a college, engineering, and maybe it's carburetor that was used to train the engineer. What is which car can such engineer oversight the repair now fix? Because everything now is autotronic.
Right.
So if if he's gone through that school, engineering, and everything about the autotronic that he learned, well, theory, because there was no practical workshop where he could experience it his or herself, or maybe yes, there was a practical workshop, but it was not the ratio to which each person could really experience it is so high. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
So when you now come out, whether it's the RT Briscoe or whatever, they literally have to take you through a whole round of finishing school, right? And how many can the private sector really do? So that's the point we are talking about. So it's not as though the root causes are not known. Now, yes, there can be nuances where the way our political people tend to address some of these schemes in the quote-unquote empowerment drives, right? So yes, we can, but that's not what we talked about. That's not what we designed with the social investment program. At least the 2020, for those of the school of 2015 to 2020, 2021. Post that, there are a lot of hiccups. But then, as we always say, government is in continuum. It's a program that the footprints are there. It can always be rejigged, retweaked, redesigned.
Certainly. Right. Okay. Let me go to Prof now. Prof.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We also know that even some professors went to evening school before they become professors. So, there's nothing out of this world when we are dealing with such matters.
Yeah.
I think that it's interesting that we have to deal with these issues. You know, we have our educational system. We introduced the 633 system, and then we introduced the basic education. And the idea is really that we'll be very strong in this TVET education. But unfortunately, that has not happened. Even given the fact that we have this board for technical and vocational education. So I'm wondering why those institutionalized processes, why are they not delivered? Because all these intervention programs that these governments are bringing, they are just ad hoc, and they just cover only a very little. Meanwhile, we have institutionalized bodies that are supposed to ensure that over time we're able to provide this kind of manpower. The technical colleges, we don't see them anywhere anymore, and the vocational system has not been standardized. Meanwhile, we have always had this straight test many years ago. What exactly is the root of these challenges?
Prof, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your comments. And in all honesty, that's where I'm glad this is a live show.
Yes,
everyone listens to it. Political actors, policymakers. That's where we need to work. And you're right. Anything, any intervention, at best is an emergency surgical operation, right? That is just to try to stop the bleeding. If it's not institutionalized, then it's not. It doesn't become part of the system. And the question you're asking is the same question we all ask. It's the same question I started asking way before I even ever thought I would go into government. It's a question I started asking since the 2008, 2009, out of personal experience when I couldn't find skilled workers in a project outside of Lagos, in Port Harcourt specifically. And when we even then shut the site and came to Lagos as a project manager that I was at the time, to pick all the relevant skilled workers, half of them were Benenois and Togolese and what have you. And that's the question I started asking, and that's what took me into this whole journey of the TVET reform. And we're just using TVET just as one example, as Prof is saying now, of many other things, the anomalies in our system. And I think my point, the challenge that you find here is the fact that these same systems, institutions, don't get the appropriate funding. So when we talk about a country that doesn't spend right into education, are we surprised at what we are finding?
Okay.
Now,
Mr. Falabi, please hold that thought, sir. Please hold that thought. We need to take this commercial break. Please hold that thought, sir. We'll come back to you in a minute. Please stay tuned. The podium returns in a moment.
32 FM 94.9.
Every meal I cook must taste just right. Rich, delicious, full of love.
We hear you. Your Maggie Star in double cubes. Double the flavor, double the convenience. The same trusted taste you love. Maggie Star Double Cubes, made from fermented soya and other selected ingredients for that deep flavor and quality that only Maggie brings to your dishes.
Absolutely delicious.
Get Maggie Double Cubes today. Me and Maggie, so good together.
Long before denominations and division, there was just one church, the Church of the New Testament, the church that began on Pentecost in Acts of Apostles chapter 2, the body of believers who followed the pattern of apostles' teaching and Lord's command without merchandise evangelizing the gospel. This is the Church of Christ, the church that follows Christ's word. Where he speaks, we are heard. Where he is silent, we keep silent too. Only what Christ commands is what we do in the Church of Christ. Beginning from Sunday, September 14, 2025 at 1 p.m., the Church of Christ will bring you the gospel of Jesus Christ on this station, 32 FM 94.9. This message is from the Bible, nothing added, nothing removed. It is pure and undiluted truth of God's word. Join us every Sunday on 32 FM 94.9 at 1 p.m. for clear, simple, and life-saving gospel of Jesus Christ. Don't miss it.
Psalms 82 verse 5 says, "They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course, but there's hope." Join Pastor Architect Alex Adigboye, Word Alive Ministries International, known as the Stone Church, every Sunday at 8:45 p.m. on 32 FM 94.9. He'll share the word of hope, the word of life, and the word that heals. Remember, the word works when it is worked. Tune in and let the transformative power of God's word impact your life.
Ẹ̀yin fans mi. It's okay. Ẹ lọ sórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ ní 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ àsáàpù. It's okay.
Every meal I cook must taste just right. Rich, delicious, full of love.
We hear you. Your Maggie Star in double cubes, double the flavor, double the convenience. The same trusted taste you love. Maggie Star double cubes, made from fermented soya and other selected ingredients for that deep flavor and quality that only Maggie brings to your dishes.
Absolutely delicious.
Get Maggie double cubes today. Me and Maggie, so good together.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Welcome back. The Podium on 32 FM 94.9. Our guest is Mr. 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐈𝐒. He is a public servant and an author. We're talking about government policies tackling unemployment and job crisis in the country. So, Mr. 𝐒𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐈𝐒, sorry, you were talking about these institutions lacking funding in education before that break. I'd like you to continue your line of thought, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Soba, and all our other panelists. So, as I was saying, a country that doesn't spend much on education, what do we expect? Are we surprised? Now, let's also understand that education is one of the few items that is on concurrent list, meaning that it's both the federal, the state, and the local government are all to be investors, not spenders. I mean, investors in education. And so that's really what it is. Because when I talked about the technical training and technical instructors training, for example, is a program that is a government program. I don't know which agency handles it, if it's MBT or one of these agencies, but it's a government program that is supposed to ensure that every year, X number of times every year, technical instructors go for training. They don't go for any training now. Go and ask any seasoned technical instructor in any of our technical schools. Any training he or she has gone for, if it is not one of these same ad hoc programs that put it together, Empower, Shopee, and all that, he probably spent his money going, or it's a company, company-sponsored program like the Coca-Cola, the Niger and Co, who invest in all these instructors sometimes for the trades, for those that are relevant to their own trades. So you see, and this is the edge China has over the world, over even the United States now, is this same thing. They spent money on education and relevant education, cottage industry, technical and engineering, precision engineering, all of these skills that China is using to lead the world now, even to which America is lagging behind now. What's his name? I forget his first name. Cooks, the guy who is in iPhone. He talked about it. He said, that what he found about TVET in China, I have that clip, I have that video, I use it for some of my trainings. The precision engineering is out of this world. So my point is, when we have institutions, these things are institutionalized. The National Board for Technical Education, they were active partners with me, even before government and even during the Empower days, and we're trying to roll out our training. So the challenge with all of these things is most times the bureaucracy itself, when you institutionalize them, the bureaucracy itself becomes its own problem. It's not now, at least it's not now, it's not 10 years. We've been talking about reform in what we are educating so that the town can meet the gown. The question is again, how fast or how quick does the bureaucracy respond to these things that are known? So many times we ourselves our own problem, and these are the reasons that. So what you then find again with political actors who actually have a short time. Every political cycle is 4 years, right? And you want to show workings before at most another 4 years at best. So with those political actors, the reason, and you already know areas you want to intervene, it is always this challenge with the bureaucracies and the speed at which they respond that lead political actors into designing these interventions. And again, how many of them are well thought out when they are intervened, and how many again are designed in a way to carry the institutions along, to wake the institutions, to reform the institutions, and really get it institutionalized so that it can continue even after that political actor or visionary. So that's really the challenge. The questions Prof has posed are questions that beg for answers, but they are very valid. Valid comments.
Okay, let's go to Barrister now. Barrister?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mokode. Now, you have been involved in the humanitarian ministry and provision of social safety nets. I want to ask, what level of success would you attribute to the intervention programs your administration particularly initiated? How impactful were those intervention programs, particularly for the vulnerable Nigerians? How many Nigerians did you succeed in taking out of poverty? What is their present economic state? I hope they are not part of the people screaming, "Ebim Pawao," now and looking for another intervention.
Thank you. You've asked very very how do I call it? Is it intriguing questions? And let me attempt to. I do hope that they are not among those screaming now. But the rich is also crying right now. So if they are part of it as well, at the Egon Lagoon value, Emigon Lagoon. So if me myself Lagoon, so perhaps let's excuse them if they are part of those saying a being power because it means me no barista. If they have for me, I will take. So, but very 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 valid questions. I think the first is the what the first wahala and that begs for answers for me is continuity. So we are champions of we starting. There's also the colloquial, since this is Ibadan, your greater audience is Ibadan. I'm not ashamed to throw in Yoruba Timobodi DNS programming. Ibere Kolonishe, it's not just about the starter, it's about really how you finish. And you really don't finish government work or continue. But in terms of perspective, so I'm saying this so that we can put relational perspective to it.
Yes.
This work, I was invited 2015, October, exactly 10 years ago, time frame now. And we did this work actively, planning it between 2015 2016, rolled out by December 2016. One of the suites of the program then, which was Empower, but the social investment had many suites. There was the job creation part, there was the for young people, there was the empowerment for women and fathers, the farmers, and all that through the school feeding and feeding the children. There was the JIP, which is loans to market women artisans and other people that either they were never considered for loans through our structured banks, even through the BUI, they were never considered for that. So we had to go and, so talking about institution and talking about how you impact, we had to institutionalize JIP within Bank of Industry, and it still continues to today because of that approach that we took. And then we also had the conditional cash transfer, which started as a World Bank safety net program even before we adopted it and as a country. So those were the suite across board, but we were rolling them out in phases between that 2016 and 2020. It was in 2019, in fact, October 2019, precisely now, that will be 6 years, in the wisdom of the then President Muhammadu Buhari, and it was all also in the quest to institutionalize that the humanitarian ministry was created, and by June 2020, we were literally handed over to the ministry, and we were no longer saddled with the day-to-day responsibility. Now, that brings again for me bureaucracy. So it's when you try to measure our success or the continued impact or the impact of even what we did, then and in the last 6 years, you find that bureaucracy came into the picture. The same reason Prof's question, whether the MBTs, the technical colleges, all of these things that are there to answer to specific questions, but they are not answering to it, but yet they are institutionalized. So you already have that challenge again with the humanitarian ministry, because like I said, the Empower program, we started it, it's institutionalized in the ministry, but there is no Empower today, because Empower exists because it's a program, it has a department now in the ministry, but there is no Empower volunteer any out there, no beneficiary anywhere out there. So those are things that, but I think that in the way we conceived it and started it at that time, and they were also very early, what you call early beneficiaries, early impacts. I'm sure in Ibadan there, Ibadan had one of the largest, or your state, sorry, had one of the largest beneficiaries of the Empower, I think about 18,000, thereabout, amongst the numbers across country. A few of them will be listening now, who have gone on to do great and greater things. One of them is actually from the Empower program, is how he got his scholarship to go to France for his engineering degrees in France right now. I have many of them who from Empower program went ahead from the savings from the program, went ahead to do their masters, went ahead to do their PhD. In fact, Sipasi is one of the Empower volunteers who is a PhD and an associate professor in the university in America now, in is it Kentucky, one of these states in America. I have, another one in the US currently doing his masters. I have, and all of them were from the Empower program. And what was the lesson? And a lot are also still in the country, but doing. Abiola, who I'm sure is listening, is gone on to commodities exchange. What do you call agri commodities exchange and what have you. Now, so my point is that those are the ones that I can relate with. It would have been interesting that in the system of institutionalization, impact studies are carried out now to see how it has fared, in the lives of people and what have you. But I think what we can say is that there were very many positive early successes, which speaks to the design. The transparency of the design, I think what everybody, and I don't know if this is a calling program, but Toba, everybody, because they will probably reach you, if it's not a calling program, they'll reach you after now. One of the things you would find and you will hear from everybody is the transparency of the program. How nobody had to know anybody by merit, they all got into the program, and by so doing, you find that it was also easy to excel in the program, because you find that it was people who wanted to be in the program that were there, not people who were just given slots or just handed handouts. For the conditional cash transfer, which created a lot of issues, even
and the school feeding, too.
Yeah.
It also created issues. Yes.
Which created a lot of issues in the later days of President Buhari. We didn't deal with cash. We didn't handle. One of the, if you go to CBN today and specifically go to the Financial Inclusion Directorate of CBN today and ask them what were the 1, 2, maybe even 1, but ask for 1, 2. So I'm not programs that helped to drive financial inclusion in Nigeria between 2016 and 2019. Sir, I make boast to tell you that they will say it's a social investment program. One, because in the Empower program, I know how many new BVNs, how many new, when we did the first batch, what am I even saying? Across the 2 batches of 500,000, at least, because in the application, to be able to pick the 500,000, we eventually had 2.5 million applications plus. At least 1 million of those applicants had to get their BVN because they wanted to apply for Empower. So if you look at the conditional cash transfer, even the cooks that we paid money for whatever, we didn't deal with cash. The records are there. Go to this agency of the CBN that is in charge of BVN. How do I forget their name now? NIBS, yes. Interbank Settlement Scheme.
NIBS.
Go to them. And the reason was, it was, BVN predates name. So, go to them. So these indicators drove financial inclusion because we did not, even to remote women in remote areas. What did we do? We recognized that, yes, ATM is not prevalent in remote areas. Arubo, Awanta-Mfuni, 5,000. At that time, which was a lot of money compared to what it may be now because of our devaluation and our devaluation. What did we do, sir? We did not resort to going to cash because we had remote area. No. We got innovative. What did we do? One was, okay, since we are now going to create a cash handling management system, we will be paying them 2 months in a cycle. So meaning that they were paid 6 times a year, 5 times a year. 6 times, yes, 2 months, 6 times a year. What did you then do to those areas? We had paid money to their accounts, and everybody got their ATM. What did we then do? We then worked with select banks in those areas. They are the ones that will now go with their vaults to the community, with their mobile vault to the community, with civil defense and with NOA and all of them. They will go to those communities, and Mama Folabi will now come out. Would identify Mama Folabi because it's the bank, not we. The bank there, they will identify Mama Folabi, collect Mama Folabi's ATM, put it in the POS, and then give Mama Folabi a 10,000 naira from our own account. They will debit our account and give her 10,000 naira. That was how we did it. It was a community drive. We did not resort to putting cash in the hands of handlers or the beneficiaries because we had a tech, access to tech issue.
Right. Okay.
So yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can finish your thought, and then we'll.
So I've said this to show how and why we had those very early signs of impact, very early signs of institutional absorption. Things that could be absorbed, and are models that right now could have been improved and expanded. And it still till today makes my case, my short, I'm not anywhere to say this is because I have a professor here, but I have a short, what I'll probably say, a paper on a case for national social investment. I have seen it work. Nothing existed before we came. It was built by Nigerians, for Nigerians, without no expatriate, without nobody. Even our technology was homegrown. So I've seen it work.
Okay.
So when I hear all sorts now, I just
yes.
Yeah.
Please, kindly indulge me.
Right. Yes.
I see that my brother is indeed a professor in practice with respect to the issue we're discussing.
Yeah.
Please, let us tap from your fountain of knowledge.
Yes, sir.
The present intervention programs of the present administration, how would you rate them in comparison with yours? Would you say they are on course?
So thank you, sir. Let me say. So again, like I always say, government is in continuum, right? But we can always be available to share wisdom and to share insights, especially again, ìjọba wa leléyìí, àwa ló kàn, so dẹ̀ gbọ́dọ̀. We must not. What I caution everybody is, don't throw the baby away. You can throw the bathwater away, but don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. You can say that there were inconsistencies, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there was not good. Yeah, there's always room for improvement, but don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. That's my caution to the government, and I've continued to say it in many forums, and I've said it again here publicly. Now, let's now look to your answers. If you look at the NEL fund, the NEL fund program, which the one, that's the one for bursary, which we know it as bursary.
Yes.
Then, but now it's really more institutionalized as student loan. I think that's a very positive step in the right direction. And what I believe would help strengthen NEL fund, strengthen the impact and output of NEL fund. It will come closely with university autonomy. I'm not a politician, and I know that everybody has his opinion in one way or the other. But if it interests you to know, Toba 2011, I think I have a video still out there. 2011 on Channels TV Sunrise, it's still there. You can Google it after this. I had made my position known about university autonomy many years ago, and the reality again is that. These are things that will eventually strengthen it. You see, the problem, and let me again speak to what Prof said earlier, where every serious government, federal, state, or local, must intervene is basic education. You see, that 9 years, UBEC, very important. In fact, you must put your best of the best there to ensure that you have your people, your young people, with a ready, intuitive brain. Now, that's like you then also said, the 6334. You see, once you've intervened successfully in the 12 years of education, 9 minimum UBEC, which qualifies you to be you illiterate, and 12 at best we finish secondary school, and then open up the pathways, to life, which is TVET as an option, and all these other now, of course, tech is big thing now. Then it was only TVET you could think of, but now you have TVET, you have tech, and all that. Once you do that, and people can see the light at the end of the tunnel, it will reduce the pressure you have on your university system. Then, at that point in time, those who are able to pay for quality university education will pay for quality education, whether it is in Ife or Ibadan or Babcock or whatever it is. They will pay. Those universities will have enough money to spend on research. They would be able to name their price, and they will be known. It's the same way today when you talk about business education, you speak Harvard. It's not that there are no other disciplines in Harvard, but they have distinguished themselves there. If you talk about law, you speak Yale. It's not as though there are not other disciplines in Yale. If you talk about medicine, you say John Hopkins. Not, but the point is, those universities have picked their distinguished line of excellence, and they command their price that way. Now, what then happens to the child of Yalata, Mamalakara, Atapata Dide? NEL fund comes in to be able to provide that bridge to that top talent, that academic brilliant child, tó jẹ́ pé owó nìkan ló kù fún láti má lè débẹ̀.
it then has NEL fund to be able to compete with all other bright students all over.
Yeah.
So when you so that's so but it will impact the NEL funding scene because the other things are not yet in place. But yes, it is happening, and but the challenge I then have is that their beneficiaries should be speaking louder than even the actors. That's what happened in my time. He was the beneficiary. The beneficiaries were louder than we that were speaking. But I'm watching time, and I know that Toba is trying to interject. So
yes, Mr. Imokwede. I also want to talk about, because you've designed Empire, you've talked about it was institutionalized in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. I also remember that another program was conceptualized at the time, the Nigeria Jubilee Fellows Program, under the Office of the Vice President as well. Funded by the EU in partnership with the UNDP. So take us through the program very quickly, because we are racing against time, as you said. The first phase was done. The second phase is on now. So take us through the program and the modalities. Is it the same as Empower? Is it different from Empower? So just so we can understand what it's about.
It is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So because of time, so it is different from Empower. So Empower was designed to be broad-based. So that's why you could talk about big numbers. First batch was 200,000, second batch was 300,000. Was supposed to have a third batch of 500,000, and and I know the batch C and what have you. Again, I can't speak to what I don't know. Right? That was when the Interior Ministry took over. But yeah, so the Empower was designed to be broad-based. Jubilee Fellows, they're for thought leaders. They are platforms, pathways by which you raise emerging leaders. Whether in civics, whether in society, whether, but that's really what it is for thought leaders. So the Nigerian Jubilee Fellows Program at that time is now designed, and the goal is that over time it becomes that, that fellowship program that is christened to Nigeria. The same way you have Desmond Tutu Fellow, you have the Nelson Mandela Washington Fellow, and what have you. It becomes christened to Nigerian Jubilee Fellows Program. So that's that. So it's not Empower, but the goal, but what the similarity is that the transparency and the meritocracy that the Empower 1.0 had is expected that is expected that this Jubilee Fellows have that. Also, the cynicism that people tend to have with federal government programs is shielded here because it's been implemented by the UNDP, and the seed fund for the program when it took off 2-3 years ago was provided by the EU. It was flagged off 2 weeks ago by His Excellency the Vice President Shettima in the banquet on the Villa. And the goal now is to drive collaborations and increase partnerships. So the federal government certainly is taking full ownership of it. It's their program from day one. And so the goal is to ensure that it gets a vote with the budget and planning, and then also drive a lot of other public-private sector partnerships, the Sterling Banks of this world, the Dangotes and what have you, to put money into what you call the basket fund, so that you can continue, it can continue beyond the funding of the EU, which is likely to expire in another 2 years or so. Right. Now, but what again is the point, right? Because again, the fellows, the goal for the fellows is to raise 20,000 every year, and so the 2.0 that is currently on now is targeted at some 24,000 placements. And the fellowship, what this does is that, of course, it's open for you to apply all across Nigeria. I'm sure the last time I checked with them, they probably are over 150,000 applications now. And so they will go through what you call selection process of the CBT, psychometry, which will work with the private sector placement, the placement agencies that will help to place them in jobs. So that's why they are going through those type of selection, just so that you have the right quality for the right partner, and then they get to be in placement for paid placement for 12 months. And but beyond, while in placement, it's really a learning. So you get a lot of mentorship training, and then structured mentorship training, structured employability training, structured entrepreneurship training, access also to the alumni, the active alumni network, and then of course I think in addition to whatever the placement partner will pay them and benefits they get 150,000 from the Jubilee Pulse for the 12 months that they are in the program, and then
Mr. Mokwede, just to be clear,
yes.
this is post NYSC, right? It's for those who have finished youth service. That's who that's the demography you're targeting. Post NYSC.
Yes, the demography is for young, fresh graduates. These same graduates that say that they are looking, credible experience, right? So but it's for young, fresh graduates, because that's really so. This time around, as against Empower that had a target of 38, 35, you must not be more than 30 when you're applying. So the maximum that can apply is someone who turned 30 this year. So, but the goal is below 30, because again, when you look at how companies, the credible companies we're working with, how they do their entry level, usually once you're above 30, you cannot be entry level again. You now have to be mid-level, because you must have gained some skills post secondary school. So in time, the age limit is tied to the placement theories of the partners. Yes.
Okay, so let's see if we can squeeze in one or two calls before we wrap up the conversation. You can be a part of the conversation by calling 0906 2000 949, 0906 2000 949, 0809 7000 949, 0809 7000 949, 0705 5000 949. So that's 0906 2000 949, 0809 7000 949, 0705 5000 949. You can also join us on Facebook as well. That's 32FM 949 Fenye. Drop your comments there. We'll be sure to read it out for you. Let's see if you have a comment. Akintoye Ogunshina says, on NEL fund, with the high rate of unemployment far above 40%, will people on this scheme be able to repay these loans after school when the industries in Nigeria are folding up or divesting? The loan scheme seems unsustainable if the students won't be getting jobs after graduation. That's Akintoye Ogunshina. He sent another one. It says, under the Buhari government, Nigeria went into multidimensional poverty with over 130 million people living in below poverty line. How did the intervention not reflect performance? Were the money voted for the program embezzled, or how come the intervention brought people yet into poverty after spending so much of Abacha loot running to 400 million USD? Did it yield any results? I think, Mr. Imokwede, I think we also need to address this part, because usually when government policy is rolled out, I don't know if it is trust deficit or the perception that the money is going to be embezzled, because we've heard a lot about this various intervention programs. So as somebody who has worked in this area, so how do you think that you can foster transparency and sort of rebuild trust, such that when people hear of programs like this, they are more confident in applying, and they do not always have the perception that the money has been stolen? So I think the trust deficit is a key issue here. So very quickly, Mr. Mokwede.
So Toba, let me say this. Yes. You see, the problem with us, again, as Nigerians, is we only look at Nigeria from federal government. We forget that we have 36 state governments and we have 774 local governments. You see, any money that comes into Nigeria, federal government is a big brother now. Which day have you heard that they did not share FAT? Which day? Which month? So, but yes, you will hear your state governors didn't pay salary and hell didn't come, heaven didn't fall. So again, I think a lot of the people who ask these questions, you only even ask based on the one. Federal government is also the one who does program and tells the whole world, I'm doing this. What do our governors tell us? When they even say they are running program, does anybody scrutinize how people get into their program? We don't hear anything. So so let's be, so that's when I hear these questions, I listen intently, and there are answers for them, and they are valid, whatever. But the crucible through which the questions are framed many times is it. So when you talk about multi-dimensional index, MPI,
yes,
I was one of my colleagues who championed that initiative, Shola Afolayan. Now let's also remember, when was multi-dimensional index carried out? It was 2022 thereabout. What happened to the world just before then? COVID. We tend to forget the wahala. The world hasn't even recovered from COVID. As in the bigger world, though, they have not recovered from COVID. And so do we think we're isolated? So when you say you had MPI, the question for the person who's asking the question, right? Yes, we all know we released the numbers now. If we wanted to hide the water, we will say, we will not release the number. But let's also remember, Buhari talked about what he spent his own federal government money to do. Why are these 36 state governors? What did they do? The 774 local governments, maybe it's the same Buhari that signed that their money must go direct to them, because it was not going to them. It was the governors that were sitting on money for state and money for local government. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yes.
So, and we're now saying multi-poverty index. It will happen now when only one out of 3 is even spending money that you can see or hear where he's spending the money. Where are the others spending their money?
Mr. Imokwede, we need to go.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack in this conversation. Maybe we'll bring you back some other time, maybe to have more a more robust conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Imokwede. Prof, final comments as we wrap up with Mr. Imokwede, and then we'll go to Barrister as well. Prof, final comments as we wrap up with Mr. Imokwede. Yes.
I think we are short of time. I'll just thank him for coming to the podium and for the very detailed explanation he has provided on the issues we have discussed so far. Thank you for coming.
Right.
Thank you, Prof.
Barrister, as we wrap up.
Yeah, so my professor of practice. Now, we do something, we make you laugh before you go, and I am happy you're already laughing.
Yes.
Now, from your testimonies before this honorable court this morning, you appear to suggest you are on our side of the Nigerian divide of the haves and the have-nots. Although you can't question them. So, like I asked F-Young, how are you preparing for the increment in pump price of fuel? Abi, as a emeritus government official, you get immunity.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Imokwede. Thank you, Barrister. Thank you, Prof, for joining us on the conversation. Thank you so much, dear listener. The Podium returns next Saturday at 9 a.m. My name is OLORUNTOBA Yusuf. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the guest analyst and do not necessarily reflect the recommendations or perspectives of 32 FM 94.9 Ibadan.
From the hottest gists to the coolest stories,